Hello, boys and girls. Glenn Parker, High Vibration Foundation. You're watching Glenn TV. I wanted to do a movie review today. Well, it's actually a show, like a series, 13 episodes if I remember, thereabouts, called Future Man. And I love sci-fi, and I have to say, way back in the day, my mom and dad were casino hosts. Not casino hosts, they were convention hosts. I live in Vegas, so that's just a casino host. One in particular was Phantasmicon in 1976, which was at the Bonaventure downtown in LA, and there was every and any type of sci-fi person running around there, including a lot of the Star Trek cast and crew. And I hung out with their kids and all this, so I was always immersed in sci-fi, and I love a good time travel story. Going back and forth, and consequences, and paradoxes, and all these types of things. Matter of fact, working on a script for something like that myself. So, I started by watching the first couple episodes. Well, actually, I watched the first episode, like the first 15 minutes, and I'm like, turned it off. Maybe it was just my mood that day or whatnot, but it seemed very infantile. And what I wasn't getting is that they were poking fun and stealing lines, paying homage to all these other sci-fi shows that had gone on. I think it was just my mood that day. So I even removed it from my list. I'm like, bah. So I went back and I'm like, my rule is usually, unless it really, really, really sucks ass, is to watch the first couple episodes and then make my judgment. So I watched the first episode. I'm like, well, that was interesting. Told a little storyline, did a little time travel, screwing with the timelines. Watched the second one, and I'm like, wow. A lot more detailed story, a little bit more time travel, a lot of continuity, and they really tied in all the stories very well. So if you are a sci-fi nut, but if you especially like things like Doctor Who or like Stargate and things that had dealt with time travel, Stargate Atlantis, Star Trek, all these types of things that have time travel episodes, then I think you would really like this, because the entire show, every half-hour episode, is really another little jump and consequences, maybe new timelines and some of these things. I'm not going to tell you everything because I don't want to give you any spoilers, but I loved all the casting. They did fantastic character development as time went on, where, characters get stuck or decide to stay in certain circumstances for a length of time separated from the other characters, and they have their own little personal development go on, so that character evolves and changes once they're back with the group, as a for instance, and you're like, wow, and they keep such good continuity and such good character development that it really is engaging. You're actually engaged with these characters, and you're like, wow, that's, really interesting. You're watching somebody grow that has been in these dire circumstances and then lived in softer times and is learning their humanity, basically. And then the hero's journey, the person that the story pivots around that's supposed to be the savior, that is Future Man. And you get to see him develop as time goes on. So overall, as like a wannabe writer myself, to do some time travel episodes and to tell a story, it was fantastically told, had fantastic continuity, fantastic character development. So as a whole, if I were to rate it from a 1 to a 10, I would definitely rate it as an 8 or a 9, like 8.5. A bit infantile, but it really did play into the storyline and to the age of the main character. And they really paid homage, and they poked fun at other sci-fis by stealing all these lines and stuff like that, which really did add to the show, I think, overall. At first it annoyed me, and maybe it was just that day, maybe it was just, a long day, and I've been running around all day, and I wasn't really in the mood for that type of thing, but when you see it as a whole, as a story, and all this character development and whatnot, it was fantastic. So, definitely on my top list to watch. And if you watch it, and if you just watch the first couple episodes and you're like, bah, or if you fall in love with it, because I watched it twice, which takes a lot for me to actually go through a whole thing twice. And I watched the last couple episodes more than twice. as refreshers. So I would say I'd love to have your feedback, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, and I'm hoping that they get picked up for another season. You know, you never know where the story is going to spin off to. From what I read online, the executive producers were saying that, you know, they're not going to pick up this storyline at all. That storyline is closed. But they will pick up those characters in all likelihood and respin it. The other thing, and I forgot her name. I'm terrible on names, but the woman that played his mother, lovely woman, age 62, she died in between the taping of one of the shows. I think like she did 5 episodes, and then they had to kind of rewrite around her. And I think it was Glenna something was her name. Lovely woman. I should know this, but I'm terrible at names, as I've said. So there was that as well, which I kind of got a glimpse when I watched it before I looked it up at the end of the show when I finished watching it. Because I'm like, well, why aren't they using that character? Why are they writing around her? And it was that. They were writing around. It wasn't a dispute of any kind over money or whatnot. It's like she wasn't available. God bless her. But she was a fantastic actress, and she's been in so many things. I think it was the same woman. I hate to say that. I hate to categorize her with this other one. But I think, because they look very similar, but I think it is the same woman. In any case, thank you very much for joining me. Glenn Parker, High Vibration Foundation. Coaching life, business, and spiritual. Also retrace, boys and girls. You're watching Glenn TV. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do love sci-fi and you love time travel, you have to give this a chance. It's just one of those that you will just fall in love with.